What's up again, everybody? A few weeks ago, I had the absolute pleasure of flying out to Oregon, hanging out with a few of my friends, and playing my absolute favorite format in any game ever, Ultimate Pit Fight in Flesh and Blood. If you don't know, Ultimate Pit Fight is the multiplayer format, and I got to sit down with my friend the professor over at Tolarian Community College, with Red Zone Rogue and Dalen Mack, and we all played a fantastic and hilarious game of multiplayer Flesh and Blood. Ever since then, I have been itching to talk about both that game and the format at large, and if you would like to watch that gameplay footage, that video is actually live today on the professor's channel, youtube.com/Tolarian Community College. I highly recommend you go watch it. It was a blast to play. And if you enjoyed that video and you want to check out more of this format, this video is a perfect segue into the format for you, because I'm going to share with you some of my favorite cards that have created the most fun experiences in the format in the years that I've been playing it. So let's get started with several of my favorite UPF cards, starting with the card that in my opinion started it all, Coax a Commotion. This card is a 0-for-4 generic attack. It can be played in any deck in the format and should be probably played in every deck because it's that good. And what you do with this card is talk to your opponents and friends at the table and say, if you let this hit, I'll choose the best modes for us and we will enjoy our time together. Coax a Commotion says if it hits, choose any number of these effects. Each hero creates a Quicken token, each hero draws a card, and each hero gains a life. If you don't know, a Quicken token basically allows one of your attacks to gain the action point back, to gain Go Again, and get an action point so that you can kind of continue your turn. Of course, drawing cards are really good, and gaining one is really good. So why is this card so much fun? Well, it highlights what UPF is all about, and that's doing things with everyone. Doing things with literally everyone. This engages all players at the table. If you find an opponent that is willing to allow this card to hit, everybody gets something. And so that is a fantastic bargaining chip. And along the same lines and in the same vein as this is Promise of Plenty. It does a very similar thing because Promise of Plenty is another generic attack. This one attacks for 3, and it says if Promise of Plenty hits, each hero who doesn't have a card in their arsenal puts the top card of their deck face down into their arsenal. If Promise of Plenty is played from the arsenal, it gains Go Again. So basically this does a similar thing for your opponents in that it can give them a benefit for allowing you to just push a little extra damage. And yes, this is a format where at the end of it all, someone is going to stand alone on the top of the mountain as the winner, but you never know who that's going to be, and so you can definitely make some deals and alliances and kind of allow players to, jockey for position, and this is a card that allows others to engage with you, to form alliances, to take a little bit of damage for the possibility of a great reward, a card in their arsenal, basically an extra card in their hand. And sometimes other players don't want this to occur because they don't get the benefit. They already have an arsenal. But let's say you didn't want to play aggressively. Let's say you just wanted to give something to everyone at the table and protect yourself in the process. Well, then we get to another of my favorite cards in the format. That's This Round's on Me. It's a generic action that came out pretty recently. Costs 1 to play, and it just says everybody gets to draw a card. And I'm not gonna lie, this card has so many crazy implications in a game that you only have 4 cards in hand usually. When your opponents can in turn around the table play This Round's on Me, and it gets to you and no one's really attacked you, and you have like a 6 or a 7 card hand in a game that you're only supposed to have like a 4 card hand, it is like Christmas. It is Christmas when this happens. This card is so much fun because it basically just allows you to do more stuff, and stuff that you can't actually do in the normal in quotations game of Flesh and Blood. When it's 1v1, you most likely have access to 4 to 5 cards at any given moment. With this rounds on me, you can have upwards of 6 cards in hand, and that never happens, and crazy things occur. And not only that, if you play this, you're also protecting yourself from all attacks that are coming your way. It is a fantastic card, and it is perfectly summed up by the lore text down there. Cheers to the good times with good friends. Speaking of cards that allow for good times with friends, pick a card, any card is just funny. It's just funny. Now, it works in great effect for several specific heroes that care about the silver tokens that it can generate, and technically it can work for every hero because it is generic, and you can include some fantastic generic cards like Cash In to your deck. But otherwise, pick a card, any card is literally just one of those fun things that you probably wouldn't see played in the Blitz or the Commoner or the Classic constructed formats, but in this format, it can shine. Think about what this does. For the cost of 0, it could possibly generate a silver token. It ingratiates you at the table as someone who's playing fun cards and making fun experiences for others. And then it could also just straight up reveal your opponent's hand to everyone at the table. And sometimes that's actually a really bad thing for you. Like, for example, if someone played this card and then showed everyone how many defense reactions or instants you have in your hand, and then everyone knows how much gas you have as far as defensive capabilities and offensive. But that would never happen in a real game, I promise. That's probably never happened at any point ever in UPF. Nevertheless, this card is a blast to play. And now we come to one of the most staple of cards in the format of UPF. You guessed it would be on the list if you've played the format. It's Gorganian Tome. This is a card that has seen competitive play and been really good. It's literally just a card that draws you a card and you go again. Like, you would look at this and it'd be so innocuous, but in a format where you're playing with 4 to 5 players and everyone is running this card to draw a card, the moment someone plays this, everybody just gets a little more tense. Everyone just gets a little bit more tight, because the moment you draw your Gorganian Tome, you're drawing an extra card because that first person already played theirs, so now you're drawing 2. Or what if 2 people have played it? What if it's the end game and everyone has played it and you've fully blocked out and you have an arsenal card only? And your arsenal card is Gorganian Tome to draw you 4 cards after blocking out all the damage and blowing out the table. That has happened in a game before. I was not the person that played it, but I really wish I was. And there's even counterplay to that, because if you run Remembrance, you can respond to your opponent's Gorganian Tome, take yours back, put it back into the deck, and they draw 1 less card. This card is a staple must-have. It is not terribly expensive, as most of these cards are not terribly expensive, and you just go get it. Yep, just go get it. It's really good. Now we come to a couple of my very just personal pet cards, favorite cards, some of my like top of the list cards, and here they are. Crown of Dominion. This card is literally just a headpiece that creates a gold token for you. But what does that do? What does it actually give you the capabilities of do outside of playing Cash In for basically free, which is really good because Cash In is like Pot of Greed, but better? No? Worse? I don't know. Let me know in a comment below. Either way, what does this do? It allows you to play Imperial Edict or Imperial Warhorn and get the extra benefits from both of those cards. Imperial Edict allows you to slam it down, trigger it off, and say, hey, no one here can play Gorganian Tomb. Gorganian Tomb? Gorganian Tome. Gorganian Tome. No one can play that card while Imperial Edict is doing its thing. And Imperial Warhorn says, yeah, the things you enjoy are destroyed, and I cackle with glee off to the side. May make you a little bit of a target, but it also could save your bacon at just the right time. And Crown of Dominion enables both of those in their fullest effect. Couple that with the ability to play Cash In, like one of my favorite cards in the entire game of Flesh and Blood. You could see why this is one of my favorite cards in the entire game of Flesh and Blood. And if you've been a long-time viewer of the channel, you know I'm in love with this card, and I just jam it into literally any hero that I can. Yeah, Crown of Dominion Riptide, Royal Riptide. represent. And before we get to my last card, and perhaps my favorite card in the entirety of UPF, I have to point out what has become, over the past year, my absolute favorite 2-card combo in UPF, and it is Life of the Party. Life of the Party with Crazy Brew is just overstated and unfair in the best ways possible. Look, here's the thing about this. It is so innocuous to have Crazy Brews in your deck. People will look at that and they'll go, "You're cool, and I like you because you play a stupid card like Crazy Brew." And let's be honest, it kind of is a stupid card, but it's a good stupid card. And at the end of the day, Life of the Party, if you have a Crazy Brew on the table, or if you have a Crazy Brew in hand, is a 0 for 6 that when it hits gains 2 life, and oh, by the way, it has Go again. Card is stupid. This card is so good. This combo is so good, and people need to play this format so that they can try this 2-card combo out, because it's so much fun to freaking play against people. And that's why it's always in every single deck. Literally, it's a 2 of, both of these cards, literally a 2 of in every single deck. The red, Life of the Party, and Crazy Brew, every UPF deck I've ever played, except on the Tolarian Community College video, I ran a 1-ofs of each, which is kind of funny. Watch the video to see if they actually came into play. You should definitely check that out. And finally, we come to what has been the most fun I have ever had in this format, and I will say this right now, this single card has created for me the most fun I have ever experienced in Flesh and Blood to this point. And I remember the moment specifically. It is Shiana Diamond Gemini. This card, this hero, has enabled the craziest, dumbest, most fun deck that I have ever gotten to play, that I've put together myself. It has enabled the most fun game I've ever experienced, wherein 2 Shianas, myself and another Shiana player in UPF, were the last 2 remaining players at the table. And it has created the most hilarious experiences where I've copied someone else who's copied another thing, and then we did this, and then we house ruled that at the end of the game, the 2 of us copied each other ad infinitum and just drew the game because we were having too much fun laughing about the stupidity of the game. This card, allowing you to build a deck with all of the crazy specializations, making you like tinker and think about like how these 2 cards could interact that are from completely separate card pools. This card, this card has been the most fun I have ever experienced and played in the game of Flesh and Blood, and I am not ashamed to say that, because it has enabled one of my favorite decks, which is the Shiana deck, where you just play big things and specializations that no one expects. It has enabled the most fun collector experience of collecting and building that deck, and then the most fun gameplay of doing just weird stuff with combos you'd never see before and never see, anywhere else, because she exists in this format. I can't recommend picking her up enough, and honestly, even though she's a legendary from Crew, she's not terribly expensive as a hero, simply because no one plays her in Blitz. She's simply played in UPF. So I can't recommend picking her up enough. And honestly, I can't recommend picking up UPF enough. It is, by and large, the most underrated format in the game, the most fun format in the game, and I will die on that hill. Format's good. I most want to encourage you to experience it with friends. Find some friends that enjoy the game of Flesh and Blood, that you enjoy being around and playing with. Tell each other, hey, let's bring a couple of cheap Blitz decks, sit down, laugh, have a few drinks, have a good time, and experience it for yourself. It is just a format that allows you and your friends to get together and have fun. If you would allow me to make more UPF content, by going down in the comments below, leaving a comment, by liking the video, by engaging with this, by watching it twice, I would make so much for this format, because it is seriously my favorite format in the entire game, possibly in the entirety of TCGs. It is wonderful, and I love it, and I would love to make more content talking about deck building for this format, talking about literally anything for it. So let me know in a comment below if you would enjoy that, if you would engage with that. If you like what you saw here, make this number go slightly higher, make it climb a little bit more, and as always, thanks for watching.